Thank you for having me. My name is Anna Chatzimichali, and I'm here to present to you our feasibility study, which is entitled Embedded Intelligent Empathy in Design. So we're a large group of both academics and industrial partners. We have people from Lancaster University, Cardiff University, and the core team is based in UWE Bristol, and we have three industrial partners, which are in the area of design and computational design. So today I'm going to talk about a bit on the computational design, on the history of that, the literature review that we've done and what that revealed, the workshop that we run with industrial partners, and the first steps that we have taken in terms of developing our research instrument, a novel research instrument. So I think the history of computational design started in the early 60s with computerization. So computerization is when you ask the computer to do what you do manually. So there's no actual intelligence there. It's the process of starting to use a computer to do something that was done by people or other machines before. Then we move to computation, which is the act or process of calculating an answer or an amount by using a machine. And computational design is when you give some values to an algorithm and you ask the algorithm to create different design solutions within your design space. The role of creativity in that is in terms of the algorithm or the approaches that you can use. You can employ new biological systems or mathematical or even social algorithms. So within that concept of computational design and the constant computerization of the workflow, we asked a specific question, which was, what is the role of human empathy? So if we keep computerizing the design process, how do the user, which is the designer, connect with the design and with the design problem? And more systematically, more specifically, can you actually record the human empathy and systematically embed it in an algorithm? So I appreciate these are very big and broad questions that we started asking. And we started with the literature review to see if did anyone actually done that before? Did anyone wonder how can we insert qualitative and more soft elements within a computational design workflow? And we didn't actually find much on that. What was evident from our literature review was that the design literature kind of moved in two different ways. One, into the more soft elements and the more human-centered design, co-design, participatory design, and the other, more on the intelligent elements and the elements that have to do with machine, with computation, with building algorithms and building workflows. So within this project, we decided to see if we can actually borrow from both fields and create an approach that can help us embed other aspects of empathy and software elements within the computational design workflow. So we started with running focus group discussions with our industrial partners and 2 collaborative design sessions in Bristol. And what came up from those is that it actually confirmed our understanding of empathy, that empathy is contextual and many times personal. It also validated our assumption that empathy is something that needs a lot of data in order to be able to quantify and try to codify it and see how we can integrate that. And finally, it became apparent that designers use their empathy when they talk to somebody, when they talk to their client or when they talk to another designer, but it's a black box what happens inside their head when they are designing. How do they actually source that empathy when they create design solutions? And that was where we decided to use a concept from the literature, which was the empathic horizon. The empathic horizon says that every one of us has a specific empathic horizon, has a certain amount of empathy that we use as we operate in our lives. And our idea is, how can we help the designer to think broader than their horizon? How can we broaden that? So we start thinking, what kind of tools can we use? What kind of research data can we collect? How can we collect that to expand that empathic horizon? And we started developing a new research instrument, and we're testing currently the feasibility of it. So this research instrument is based on a think aloud protocol. While their designer is actually in the process of their designing, we help them to make explicit what is in their head, and real-time feedback using context-free grammar and natural language processing. So we're trying to process what comes out from their mouth while they are designing in order to see where does empathy start, where the empathy stands, how they use it, and if other designers can use that as a resource. So today there are no actual research instruments that help us quantify the empathy of a user and then bring that back into the process. That's why we decided to go off and try to test if a tool can help us. So this tool will facilitate with on-the-fly visualization of the presentations of a human-machine dialogue. So while the user is designing, currently they are on an open dialogue with the computer and they're on an open dialogue with their design, but we try to make that explicit. And we want to integrate that upon this existing system that they are working. So we are building it as a plug-in on Grasshopper, which is a software most computational designers are using. Through the conversations that we have with industrial partners, what became apparent would be that this would be not only a useful tool for them to record the process, but to keep the record of the decisions each individual designer took within the design process. So we hope that we might help on that end. So our next step is to validate the instrument that we are building with professional designers, which are working in real time. And we have actually a meeting on Monday with one of the industrial partners in London to test our prototype. And of course, overall, our goal is to expand the empathic horizon not only of a single designer, but of designers collectively. So if we can quantify and integrate into a workflow the empathic horizon of one designer, we can use that as a probe to expand the empathic horizon of another designer. So thank you very much. Those have been our outputs so far. So literature we've done and some work we have presented in a conference. And I'm happy to take questions.